Chapter 6. Johnny gagged and I almost dropped my hot bud sundae. Cherry? Both of us asked at the same time. The Soch? Yeah, Daly said. She came over the vacant lot the night Two-Bit was jumped. Shepard and some of his outfit and I were hanging around when she drives up in this little Stingray. That took a lot of nerve. Some of us were for jumping her then and there for being dead kid's girl and all, but Two-Bit stopped us. Man, next time I want a broad, I'll pick up my own kind. Yeah, Johnny said slowly, as if what, and I wondered if, like me, he was remembering the old voice, also tough, deepened into manhood, saying, "Next time you want to pick up broad, pick your own kind." Gave me the creeps. Daly was going on. She said that she felt like the whole thing was her fault, which it is, and she kept up with the what was coming off with the socias and the rumble and would testify that the socias were drunk and looking for a fight and you fought back in self-defense gave me a grim laugh. That little girl sure does hate me. I offered to take her over to the Dingo for a Coke and she said no thank you and told me where to go in very polite terms. She was afraid of loving you, I thought. So Sherry Valence, cheerleader Bob's girl, the Soch, was trying to help us? No, it wasn't Sherry the Soch who was helping us. It was Sherry the dreamer who watched sunsets and couldn't stand fights. It was hard to believe a Soch would help us, even a Soch that drug sunsets. Daly didn't notice. He had forgotten it already. Man, this place is out of it. What do they do for kicks around here? Play checkers? Daly surveyed the scene without interest. I've been to this country. I ain't been in the country before. Have you two? Johnny shook his head, but I said, Dad used to take us out hunting. I've been in the country before. How'd you know about the church? I got a cousin that lives up around here somewheres. He tipped me off about it be a tough hiding out in case something. Hey, Pony Boy, I heard you was the best shot in your family. Yeah, I said. Derry always got the most ducks. Him and Dad. Soda and I goofed off too much, and we scared out most of our game away. I couldn't tell Derry I hated to shoot things. He'd think I'm soft. That's a good idea. I mean, cutting your hair and bleaching it. They printed a description in the paper, but that wouldn't fit him now. Johnny had been quietly finishing his fifth barbecue sandwich, and now he announced, We're going back and turning ourselves in. It was Daly's turn to gag. He swore a while, then he turned to Johnny and demanded, What? I said I'm going back to turn ourselves in, Johnny repeated in a quiet voice. I surprised, but not shocked. I had thought about turning ourselves in lots of time, but apparently the whole idea was a jolt to Daly. I got a good chance of being let off easy, Johnny said desperately, and I didn't know if Daly was trying to convince him or himself. I ain't got no record with a fuzz, and it was self-defense. Pony Boy and Sherry can testify to that, and I don't aim to stay in the church all my life. And that was quite the speech for Johnny. His black eyes grew bigger and ever thought of going to the police station. For Johnny had deathly fear of cops, and he went on, "We won't tell us that you. They won't tell us that you helped us, Daly, and we'll give you back the gun and what's left of the money, and say hitchhike back so we won't get you in trouble. Okay?" Daly was chewing on the corner of his ID, which gave his age at 21, so he could buy liquor. You sure want to go back? Us greasers get it worse than anybody. Johnny nodded. I'm sure. It ain't fair that Ponyboy has to stay in that church with Derry and Soda worrying about him all the time. I don't guess he swallowed and tried not to look eager. I don't guess my parents will be worried about me or anything. The boys are worried, Daly said in matter-of-fact voice. Two-Bit was going to Texas to hunt for you. My parents, Johnny repeated dodgily. Did they ask about me? No, snapped Daly. They didn't. Blast it, Johnny. What did it matter? Shoot, my old man don't give a hang whether I'm in jail or dead or in a car wreck or drunk in the gutter. It don't bother me none. Johnny didn't say anything, but he stared at the dashboard in such a hurt bewilderment that I could have bawled. Daly cussed under his breath and nearly tore out the transmission of the T-Bird as we roared out of the Dairy Queen. I felt sorry for Daly. He meant it when he said he didn't care about his parents, but he and the rest of the gang knew Johnny cared and did everything he could to make it up to him. I don't know what it was about Johnny. Maybe a lost puppy look, or maybe those big scared eyes, and make everyone that what want to make everyone his big brother. But they couldn't. No matter how hard they tried, they take place to his parents. I thought for a minute, Dairy and Soda Pop were my brothers, and I loved them both. I love both of them, even if Dairy did scare me. But not even Soda could take Mom and Dad's place, and they were my real brothers, not just sort of adopted ones. No wonder Johnny was hurt because his parents didn't want him. Daly could take it. Daly the was of the breed that could take anything because he was hard and tough. And when he wasn't, he could turn hard and tough. Johnny was a good fighter and could play cool, but he was a sensitive, and that's a good way. And that isn't a good way when you're a greaser. Blast it, Johnny. Daly growled and flew it off the red road, along the red road. Why didn't you think about turning yourself in 5 days ago? Would have saved a lot of trouble. I'm scared. I was scared, Johnny said with conviction. I still am. He ran his finger down one of his short black sideburns. I guess ruined your hair for nothing, Pony Boy. I guess so. I'm glad we're going back. I was sick of the church, and I didn't care if I was bald. Daly was scowling from the long, painful experience. I knew better than to talk to him about when his eyes were blazing like that. I'd likely not get clobbered over the head. That happened before, just as it happened to all the gang one time or another. We rarely fought among ourselves. Jerry was the unofficial leader since he kept his head the best. Soda and Steve have been best friends since grade school, and they never fought. And Two Bit was just too lazy to argue with anybody. Johnny kept his mouth shut too much to get into arguments, and nobody ever fought with Johnny. I kept my mouth shut too. But Daly was a different matter. If something beefed him, he didn't keep quiet about it. And if you rubbed him the wrong way, look out. Not even Derry wanted to tangle with him. He was dangerous. Johnny just sat there and stared at his feet. He hated for any of us to be mad at him. He looked awful sad. Daly glanced at him out of the corner of his eye. I looked out the window. Johnny, Daly said in a pleading high voice, using the tone I'd never seen him use. Johnny, I ain't mad at you. I just don't want you to get hurt. You don't know what a few months in jail can do for you. Oh, blast it, Johnny. He pushed his white blonde hair back of his eyes. You get hardened in jail. You don't want that to happen to you like it did to me. I kept staring out the window and at the rapidly passing scenery, but I felt my eyes getting round. Daly never talked like that. Never. Daly didn't give a Yankee dime about anyone but himself. And he was cold-hearted and mean. And he never talked about his past being in jail that way. If he talked about it at all, it was to brag. And suddenly thought of Daly, in jail at age 10, Daly growing up in the streets. Would you rather have me living in hideouts for the rest of my life, always on the run? Johnny said seriously. If Daly said yes, Johnny would have gone back to the church without hesitation. He figured Daly knew better than he did, and Daly's word was law. But never heard Daly's answer, for when we reached the top of J Mountain, Daly suddenly slammed on the brakes and stated, "Oh, glory," he whispered. The church was on fire. What's the deal? What's going on? Let's go see what the deal is, he said, helping out. For what? Daly said, sounded irritated. Get back here before I beat your head in. I knew Daly would have to park the car and catch me before he could carry out that threat. Johnny was already following me, so I figured I was safe. I could hear him cussing us out, and he wasn't mad enough to come after us. There was a crowd at the front of the church, mostly little kids. I wondered how they got in there so quickly. I tapped the nearest grown-up. What's going on? Well, we don't know for sure, a man said, good-natured grin. We're having a school picnic up here, and the first thing we know, the place is burning up. Thank goodness it's wet season. The whole thing is worthless anyhow. Then the kids, he shouted, stand back, children. The firemen will be coming soon. I bet we started it, I said to Johnny. We must have dropped a cigarette or something. About that time, a lady came running up. Jerry, some of the kids are missing. They're probably around here somewhere. Can't tell with all the excitement where they might be. No, she shook her head. We've been missing for at least half an hour. Been climbing on the hill. Then we all froze. Faintly, just faintly, could hear someone yelling. and it sounded like it was coming from inside the church. The woman went white. I told him not to play in the church. I told him. She looked like she was going to start screaming, so Jerry shook her. I'll get them. Don't worry. I started off in a dead run for the church. The man caught my arm. I'll get them. You kids stay out. I jerked loose and ran on. All I could think of was, we started it, we started it, we started it. I wasn't about to go through the flaming door, so I slammed a big rock through the window and pulled myself in. It was a wonder I didn't cut myself to death. How, now that I think about it, hey, pony boy, I looked around and started to realize Johnny had been right behind me all the way. I took a deep breath and started coughing. The smoke filled my eyes and they started watering. Is that guy coming? Johnny shook his head. The window stopped him. Too scared? Nah, Johnny gave me a grin. Too fat. I couldn't laugh because I was too scared I'd drown in the smoke. The roar, the crackling was getting louder, and Johnny shouted the next question. Where are the kids? In the back, I guess, I hollered as we started stumbling through the church. I should be scared. I thought I was an old detached feeling, but I'm not. The cinders and embers began falling on us, stinging and smarting like ants. Suddenly, the red glow and the haze, I remember the feeling, wondering what it would be like to be a burning ember, and I thought, now I know, it's red hell. Why aren't I scared? I pushed open the door in the back room and found 4 or 5 little kids, about 8 years old, younger, huddled in a corner. They were screaming their heads off, and Johnny yelled, Shut up, we're getting you out of here. The kid looked surprised, and I blinked to myself. Johnny wasn't behaving like his old self. He looked over his shoulder, and I saw the door was blocked by flames, then pushed open the window and tossed out the nearest kid. I caught one quick look in his face, his red marked from falling embers and sweat streaming, but he grinned at me. He wasn't scared either. That was the only time I can think of when I saw him without that defeated, suspicious look in his eyes. He looked like he was having the time of his life. I picked up a kid. He promptly bit me and then leaned out the window and dropped him as gently as I could. Being in a hurry like that, the crowd was there by that time. Daly was standing there when they saw me screaming, For Pete's sake, get out of there. The roof's going to cave in any minute. Forget those blasted kids. I didn't pay any attention, although the pieces of the roof were crashing down too close for comfort. I snatched up another kid, hoping he didn't bite me, and dropped him without waiting to see if he landed okay or not. I was coughing so hard I could hardly stand up, and I wished I had time to take off Daly's jacket. It was hot. We dropped the last kid out the window. Get out. Oh, wait, sorry. Drop last kid out the front of the church, church started to crumble. Johnny shoved me toward the window. Get out. I leapt up the window and heard a timber crashing and flames roaring right behind me. I staggered, almost falling, coughing and sobbing for breath. Then I heard Johnny scream, and as I turned back for him, Daly swore at me, and he clubbed me across the back as hard as he could, and I went down in a peaceful darkness.